Sorry, guys.
Are we
skipped
live?
a step.
Here we go. We did skip a step, but we're good now. All right, baby.
All right.
And I'm gonna do this so I don't look at myself the entire time. That's weird. All righty. Well, we're here.
From Saturday night.
Live with Jackson.
Yeah.
And yours truly.
It's weird doing this so late.
I know, it's like a totally different feel. It's a Friday. It's an afternoon. This used to be like maybe like your first thing that you'd potentially do, or like it was like one of the first things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like after junior academy.
Yeah.
But we're warmed up now.
I'm
if
warmed
we didn't
up.
have energy before,
now.
it's like a full infusion.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
All right. Well, it's been 2 weeks. It's actually been 15 days.
Yes.
So we probably have questions. They probably don't want to hear me talk about just random stuff. So let's freaking answer some questions. Friggin' lock and load.
Let's get her
What
done.
you got in the chamber? Question number one. Drum roll.
Let's go to Johan Mercier.
Okay.
I hope
Awesome.
I didn't butch there. There goes another question. How do you load the trail arm in the downswing? If it's retracted in the backswing, it would make sense that it protracts in the downswing. Please explain it how and when. Thank you.
Yep. Trail scapula. So scap is like maybe one of my faves. It's pretty cool, and I think it's underrated for sure. So what's cool with the scap, and I like this, like we talk like boat drill a lot with our students, especially our junior academy, just to kind of get them like aware of this. Like if I had an oar out the right and an oar out the left, and I go here, this is like primarily like scapula driven. The other cool thing is like I can move the right scap and not the left one, or the left scap and not the right one, or I can bounce between them both. Okay, so the scapula, just to kind of like go over like the four main ideas for like where the scap can move in space. It can elevate, it can depress, it can protract, it can retract. Okay, so protraction, retraction makes the shoulder socket move in this space. Ideally, what we have is a scap that in the beginning of the swing, and by the way, at address, the scaps will actually start both of them in dual protraction. So if I pulled on like a cable row, see how the scaps get closer to my spine, they come this way. If I retract, or excuse me, if I protract, they go around my rib cage and go like, they try to get on my sides almost. And that's when the arms are more out in front. So now I'm set up with dual scap protraction. Now in the start, I would like to see players protract the trail scap even more in the start. And that's because the ribs are rotating and moving into this space. See, I can almost take my right pec and move it underneath the trail arm. So it feels like this pec goes woo that way. So what's the scap doing right here? This is scap protraction. And I'll keep turning, it stays protracted. See how the arms are right out in front, and I've turned massively. Then at the top, the arms obviously are gonna keep going, and the lead arm is elevating, it adducts a little bit. So now the golf club gets in here, and that starts the retraction, but it's not because I'm trying to actively retract this right arm. So as soon as I get to the top and I start to move forward through this transition, I'm gonna drop and I'll start to turn the chest away from this right arm, and that's what causes the retraction state. So it's not that you have to try to actively retract the scap because you're trying to take this right arm and shove it back here in space. We're actually just turning this up here. Like there's hardly any, if any, retraction right there. But now as I drop and I start to turn the chest away from there, this is a passive retraction of the right scap. And it's what loads up this anterior arm line, which I think is what the question really is. So I've gone posterior trail arm load, bouncing into anterior trail arm load, so now I can fire and hit. So in one action, we would see more whoa, here, there, boom. So hitting balls, we're here, there, and that's why we start to see some of that flow state, and it's also why the golf club floats at the top. Posterior, anterior, hit. Hopefully that makes sense when it comes to scaps and the trail arm load and unload through transition in the hit. Great question. Number 2.
This is a good one. Chris. I think this was from live chat 2 weeks ago. 15 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Dope ass shit. Can you walk
I like the start immediately.
Can you walk through how a late release can cause face control issues like overhooks and or push cuts? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a super interesting one, because, and this is actually a super interesting topic. The amount of times that we'll have athletes unload or release the golf club earlier in order to hit a cut is remarkable. Mm-hmm. And everybody watching right now is like, that doesn't make any sense. Because it sounds like the earlier we release, then we're going to draw it more, and the later we release, we're going to end up cutting it more. And maybe there's a little bit of truth in that, but it depends on the release that we're talking about. If we have a tumble release, then yeah, what I just said that I'm saying is false is actually true. Because if I'm back here and I go tumble it, I ain't cutting that, right? And if I'm holding it and I turn and I wipe that thing off, then okay, yeah. But the problem is like with that mapping and draws versus cuts, you're gonna hit undercut, high traj, spinny, weak, starting right to right floaters that go nowhere. And if you tumble it in an effort to draw it, you're going to take the spin axis and tilt it like a son of a gun, reduce all the backspin on it. It starts left and lower because you shove all the frickin' loft off of the thing. Starts left, goes left. So 1, you have massive dispersion, and 2, you have massive differences in distance. So good luck with that type of like outlook when it comes to controlling your golf ball. Now, the release that we prefer for some players is more of an extension to flexion type of a release in here. So that's a very, very stable look in the golf club, right? There's no tumbling out this way, no protraction, or pronation, excuse me, not protraction. Talking about scaps that leaks into the wrist. Okay, so we're more in here in this extension to flexion type of release, which is a very stable release, meaning that there's typically you're going to lower the rate of rotation. You're also going to keep the arm, hand, and club structure for longer that way. Loads of bonuses, okay? So for cuts, releasing the golf club earlier is interesting if I'm in this type of a release. And the way this really works, I want you to think of it from a standpoint of if I was standing back here relative to this golf ball right now. So let's say that the golf ball is right here and I stand back here. And I have this handle right here, and I go bump, 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 bump. I'm unloading it. It's loaded. Now it's unloading, unloaded. The club right now is on a right path, right path, right path, right path, straight path, left path, left path, left path, left. Oh, so if it's on a left path up here because I'm unloading it so early, a left path compared to the face is a cut for a right-handed player, and vice versa for a lefty. If I take the golf club and I have it up here, so the pivot point's up here, I'm going to go right path, right path, right path, right path. Oh, right path, right path, right path. A late release would look like I'm in here. I'm already going to start to extend because this upper spiral is pulling on this hip. So where's that trying to throw the handle? More towards the target, and I still have all this load. So if it unloads in here, now I'm releasing it. Heavy right path. So even though I'm unloading it later, there's a high probability of hook in that because now I'm going to be extending during that time, properly, by the way. Extension's a good thing as long as it's coming from the right space or place. But then I also have this like really late release, and it's like I'm either going to hit like a block or like a friggin' block draw or like a uh-oh, okay? If I'm in here, same pattern, but I'm trying to get all this energy out of here, look at now, it's like, okay, well, this is all starting to path left here. That's an easy way to cut it, which is funny to think that like, okay, I need to unload the golf club earlier in order to reduce the amount of draw that I have on the golf ball. But you gotta make sure that the unload pattern that you're using is heavy in this extension to flexion state and not heavy in this pronation state. We pronate too much, all of a sudden there goes the face, and that's like super blinker mode left for right-handed players again. So hopefully that makes sense when it comes to like late release and like left shots compared to like let's unload it a little bit earlier just to stabilize that ball a hell of a lot.
Yeah, third.
Yay.
All right, live chat. Jason Marshall. Nice. Hey, Riley.
What up, Jason?
Quick question for the Q&A. How should you blend chest rotation needed to square the face with not pulling the path too far left? Is it exaggerating dropping the club under the plane?
There you go. Yes. Great
Next
question. So that's exactly right. So this is really, really interesting. I had an introductory session with a guy here that lives in Denver. We met for the first time yesterday, and he's just he's going, you know, I'm an accomplished hockey player, but like the understanding of the golf swing, I just don't know what's right and wrong. You see a lot of different things out there. So like this guy says this guy says that, blah 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 blah, and I just don't know what the golf swing, like the shape of the golf swing, should be. So when we're talking about like the force direction that I'm putting into the club relative to my chest, we talk often about this idea of like, look, the center of mass of the club should go up the sagittal plane and then parallel along the coronal. So the whole shape of the golf swing is this when it comes to the golf club relative to my chest. Now, let's say that I, like, instead of going here, because again, I understand this looks nothing like a golf swing. If I turn in the backswing and have this golf club go up my sagittal plane, all of a sudden it looks a heck of a lot golfier because I turned. Otherwise, I would look like this. So I'm here, there, oh, golf swing. Now this, on its own, looks ridiculous. This, on its own, looks ridiculous. So what you're at in turn, see how easy it is to get this golf club above the plane? So if I'm unloading that and finding the golf ball, I'm gonna either hit like this really solid left ball, or I'm gonna hit more of a pole cutting style of an action. By the way, this can work for certain types of athletes. Like Hovland has played the majority of his career this way within like the right amount of that with loads of success. Like he's one of my very favorite ball strikers, but every single ball that he hits is some version of a pole cut because of that act. Okay, so when you're asking like, all right, I'm getting the path a little bit too far left because I'm trying to rotate the chest through, we've got to be able to balance this out by getting the club deep enough. I had another virtual session this morning, and we're getting these like driver paths that are like 12, 13, 14 right. And we're like, that's way too much. So his idea of the golf swing was, look, I'm gonna move the golf club in here, but this would move first, this responds second. What's that path gonna be? It's gonna be heavy to the right. So what did we end up doing? In his mind, he's going, all right, I'm gonna drop and swivel the pelvis, right? So the golf club's in here, and then he's responding with the club in here. And we went from 14 right to 2 right, just like that. So it's the order of events that's kind of fun that you get to play with. If you're a player that's like, man, I just can't get my friggin' path out to the right, well, shoot, Lynn, let's get that son of a gun back here. Because now if I just turn from there, where's that thing coming from? Inside. So we're gonna get these paths that are definitely out to the right, and it's more block draw kind of a style. If you're a player that struggles with, I mean, one of our players, BD, it is so hard for him to hit a pole cut, right? And he's feeling like, all right, the golf club's in here, he's gonna pivot, and then the unload is like over here with just this like massive like UD release. He feels like he does that. And what ball does he still hit? A little bit of a push draw, but it sure levels them out, whereas numbers at the bottom,
swoopy.
Yeah, it's not so like under and frickin' tumble it out of there. So moral of the story here is like you can play with these movements and what you feel like the sequence is to get your numbers a little bit more leveled out at the bottom, so we're not quite so like block draw driven or quite so pull cut driven, and we get more into like arrow mode. And ideally, like once you get into pretty darn good stuff that's like reasonable at the bottom and we're hitting fairly straight shots, I definitely encourage players to be able to train in on command a bit of a block draw and train in on command a bit of a pull cut. Because if you're able to hit both of those shots on command, always, how do you ever get out of system?
Never.
So you got the shape of the golf swing. Okay. It goes up sagittal, down coronal. If I turn away and I turn forward within that, you're going to be pretty darn reasonable. And then you can just play with how deep do I want it for a block draw? How deep do I want it for a pole cut? Blah, blah, blah. So makes it really, really fun and creative when it comes to working on your swing.
So much fun.
So much fun.
All right. This one's from Connor.
Connor.
Hi, Riley. I have a question on tempo. This one's a little longer. Bear with me.
Okay.
Given the spiral nature of the system you teach and the fact that there are probably more moving parts than the average back and through type swing, it seems to me that tempo is the most important part of the system, as things can go badly wrong if you don't allow the sequence to happen correctly. I really struggle with tempo with your system when on course. With the ball in front of me on the tee or in the fairway, I usually revert to pulling hard or jumping at the ball. I'm not doing this when practicing. Do you have any tips on how to bring good tempo to on-course golf? Thanks for all the content.
That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful question. And by the way, this is part of building your golf game. It's part of it. Like, we get a lot of these types of questions, concerns from every single player. And it doesn't matter if they're, you know, tour players that we're coaching, or if they're part of our junior academy, or novices that are just starting the game, or they're high-level amateurs. Like, everybody runs into the question that you just posed. What was this gentleman's name, by the way?
This was Connor.
Connor, that's right. So Connor, I promise you, bud, even though the game has this this tendency to make you feel like you're on an island by yourself, and like difficulties with the game, every one of us runs into difficulties with the game. It's part of sport. Number one, okay, let's go about it from this perspective. Like, I'd like to go more from an athletic type of an attitude to answer this question, rather than here's the friggin' like clunk, 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 like this happens, this happens, this happens type of response. So number one, I'd love you to just look up the definition of tensegrity. So tensegrity is one of my favorite frickin' words, because it's, most of us have seen, like when we were kids, a tensegrity ball, which is that like little spiky ball, and you throw it on the ground and it just goes da, 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 and it just kind of keeps bouncing. It's really hard for it to lose energy, and eventually it does. But it's not like a bean bag that you throw down and it goes blah. So they're very different. Both of those balls have much different tension in them. Like a bouncy ball versus that beanbag. Bouncy ball, blah, blah, just keeps bouncing. Beanbag, blah, different tensions. In the human body, we have different tensions all the time. The reason I'm standing up right now is I have some amount of tension in my body, and I have some amount of relaxation in my body at the same time. If I was fully relaxed, I would just fall into a pool of soup on the ground. And in golf, isn't it interesting that, like, when you first start working on your game and your uncle takes you out there and he's like, dude, you just need to relax when you swing. Well, I'm sorry, your uncle's full of shit. I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you look at like these really great athletes, like any single sport that you watch, like, did Roger Clemens look like he's just relaxed throwing the ball in there? No, not the whole time. They're like, looks like there's some force in that. When you look at like Barry Bonds swing a baseball bat, does it just look like he's just kind of powder puffing it out there? No. Tiger, Min Woo, Scotty Scheffler, you name every single one of those PGA Tour players, there are times that their system or parts of their body are lit the frick up. And at the same time, there's parts of their system that are chilled the hell out. So it's this idea, and like when I see really, really high level golf swings, it looks like their system is like bouncing. Like if I'm dribbling a basketball here and I go force and then I catch it, this is like a relaxation time to gather that ball, and then I slowly get the energy back out of it. Boom, boom. They look bouncy, right? You see somebody run and they go boom, 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 boom. They look bouncy, like it looks right. They're not rigid the whole time, but they're not relaxed the whole time. So the point is like when it comes to rhythm, there are times that we need tension in the system, and there are times to be really relaxed. And for every single athlete, every one of them is just different. We have this one gal here who has has worked her ass off to earn her name is Peyton. And Peyton, I yell at her all the time, tension. Like what she feels the entire time in her golf swing is tension and a load of it. And then you watch her swing, and even though she is feeling like freaking tissue activation, it just looks like it's this chilled out. But the more tension we put into it right now, the better she like eye test looks. Now, if frickin' Dwayne Johnson came out here, I'm probably not going, Dwayne, just frickin' tension all the time, because he's just a tense beast already. So we'd probably have to drip in quite a bit of like, hey, it's chill so your tissue can elongate and load. And then it can like, he can easily do this, right? So point is like everybody's gonna like, from a sensory standpoint, athletically, you're gonna feel different here. And what you need to be able to do is manage like, when and if, where do I throw tension or relaxation into my system to make me bouncy athletically? And if you're on the site, Connor, which I think he is, like, did that come from X Factor, that question? Yes. So you're on the site. So the videos that I'd love to have you watch would be definitely the Progression series, but watch Progression 5. As well as our definition or our kind of explanation of what rhythm is within the first category, the elite way. And you'll go in through like geometry, spirals, and rhythm, and we're describing rhythm as energy in, and between that energy, woo, we're energetic here, there, but it's all wave-like. Like this will be the final piece to the question, the answer to this question. If you watch waves, whether they're like little bitty creek waves, San Diego waves, or friggin' tsunamis, every one of them climbs, then they crest, and then they crash. For a wave to climb, we need energy in that. Woof. We put energy in here. And then when it crests, this is all chill out time. You see waves come in and they're just like chill and ride. But then when they crash, boom, energy again. I can ride it up here, but I don't moving. I need to put energy into it. First wave, this is the climb. And then in transition, all this space, this is the crest. So what do I need to do with the club, and where does it need to organize? What do I need to do with my body to get the golf club into delivery? And then from here, all of this area is another wave out. There's the crash. So we have the climb, crest, crash, and that's the overall rhythm. So I would just suggest, dude, putting a cherry on top of this, like where do you need tension? Where is it allowed? And where do you need relaxation in your golf swing? That's what's gonna make you feel better when it comes to tempo or rhythm in your golf swing.
Lovely.
Bueno.
All right, live chat. Michael from Poland.
From Poland?
From Poland.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, Riley, I have a question about ball position and setup in short game, irons play, and fairway woods or driver shots.
Okay.
I think his question is, what is the setup first? Because there's nothing after that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Let me grab a... Again, this looks like the question's too hard. I'm running away. I got a wood, I got a this, and I got a that. Okay. Did he ask for putting as well? Or is this just like wedge, irons?
Short game, irons, fairway wood, driver.
Okay. So we've got these two different maps for golf swings. We've got hitters versus swingers, okay? So swinger action looks more, I mean, let's go through history. Jack, Scotty Scheffler, Tiger. So first thing, who's going to argue with those three? And I'm saying I don't like them as much as I like hitters. But then everybody freaking, what? How do you disagree with Jack or Tiger or Scott? Like, of course, they're great. So can you play good golf with a swinger pattern? Yeah. And there's more that goes into the game of golf than just how you swing it. Are you able to perform under pressure? How's your putting? How's your short game? Blah, 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 blah. But anyways, the point is like, do we have a swinger type pattern or do we have a hitter type pattern? Hitter type patterns are Min Woo Lee, Hovland, Trevino, Oshke, Gordon Sargent, blah, 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 okay? So there's this look versus this look. If I'm a swinger, swingers are players who primarily lower and close down the golf club because of their arm action. So the arms will go here. There's not as much rotation in the chest, but they'll also shove the pelvis up forward and rotate the pelvis as they're rotating their arms, and they'll look in here. So if I'm that player, let's just take a look at like the rib cage and the pelvis. So I get up here and I go, whoom. So I do this. And then I'm going to take the arms and I'm going to go, whoom, and I'm going to do that. Where do I want the ball position then? Do I want it further up or do I want it further back? It's pretty easy to see where my attention is here. We'd want the golf ball to be placed further back when I'm set up so I can go whoosh and hit it. Now, for a hitter, what hitters do is they drop the pelvis and they rotate the chest. So see how this hasn't like shoved up forward towards the target? I can get my chest rotating. My chest almost moves forward, especially in this transitionary phase. Boom. And then from here, I'm going to turn as I unload the golf club. Now, where does my attention look right here at impact? Is it going to look up here? So the ball would flirt more forward in the stance in order to do so, for me to like accomplish that act with any kind of positive result in ball striking. So I brought out this like little kid 7-iron compared to the other 7-iron just to show like length of shaft. But wedges, the furthest back that I'd like to see the golf ball get is where the club head would be in the middle of my stance. So notice there when I'm set up that the golf ball itself is a little bit north of center. Now, how this would typically go just in general is with a wedge, I'm going to have about that width of stance. With a 7-iron, I might go a little bit more. So automatically, relative to my sternum, see how my sternum, the more width I get in the stance, the further back my sternum is relative to the golf ball. So that's number 2 would be the width of stance increasing is going to also put that golf ball more forward in my stance as well. Until finally we get into driver or wood where that golf ball is well up there. Now you'll see that that ball is right on kind of my left heel, but my sternum is all the way back here. So I'm way behind that golf ball at the start. What's cool is even when I go in here and then I start to, I mean, we talk about this quite often as well. Like see where my buttons are relative to my belt buckle? It's on this plane, this arc. So from here, if I go, I'm going to trade these two in transition, boom. See how my sternum got way back forward? Well, look, still the bottom out is behind the ball for a driver or a wood. So I can go here, there, still have it behind it, so as I turn, I can deliver the instrument in and have a proper AOA. So I think the other like big key here is understanding that your ball position doesn't have to be perfect. Your grip doesn't have to be perfect. We want to match that up depending on how you want to move and how you like to load the wrists and the hands. Your alignment doesn't have to be perfect. If you draw the golf ball, you might aim it out to the right a little bit more and vice versa. Okay, so the point is all of the setup principles are a matchup based on how you move, swinger versus hitter. Swingers want that ball back a little bit more. Hitters are going to put the golf ball forward a little bit more. Typically, that's the case. Okay, so when you're looking at like these fundamental principles, just understand that like in golf, I think the only thing that's written in stone is that thou shall grip the club at the grip end. Yeah. And then everything else is like a matchup, right? Like look at Colin Morikawa, grip it, versus Matt Fitzpatrick. Who's right? Both of them, right? Because they match it up really well, obviously, based on their swing and how they want to release the club and blah, 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 all the other things that go on in the dynamic act of the golf swing. So I think that's just, in general, we want it to swingers are going to put that golf ball, tendency is going to be further back in their stance. Hopefully that's kind of an easy way to go about that.
I like you brought up the width of the stance, because, I mean, you know, I got a freaking wide-ass stance.
Yeah.
I'm a freaking loaded baseball stance.
Uh-huh.
And I get so many people that tell me, why is your ball so far behind your left heel?
Yeah.
I go, because it's not, for me,
relative
it's not,
to this.
it's relative to my body. It's not relative to my
this.
feet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
All right.
Lovely.
All right, we'll see if we can get this. You probably have to see something. Griffin, live chat. Quick, unanswerable question. Why is my AOA so steep? Smiley face.
Who is this?
Griffin.
Why is my AOA so steep? Dude, okay. First, like, there are multiple different ways to create like steeper AOAs versus like shallower AOAs. I kind of like that you're steep, which is awesome, but I'm gonna bet dollars to donuts, dude, that you do an okay job of kind of getting it into delivery. If it's still over, the conversation is over, because now you'll just keep going and shove it into the ground. So is it deep enough here? That would be question number one. And then question number two is like, how are the arms and hands truly interacting through the hit? Okay, so if we answer both of these, this is kind of a cool way of thinking about this, I think, especially from down the line. So if I go up here and I go, woo, turn. If I drew a line from the club head to the golf ball right now and I just followed that, steep, right? If I move it here and I drew a line to the golf ball, shallow. So we call this the flat spot, which is dope, dude. How are you going to be steep if you're moving that golf club around that, along that coronal plane? Boom, that way. And now if I turn through and forward, like, look at where the club's coming from. It's coming in here. So as it unloads, there's no chance that you're going to be steep there. And look at my body shape. I look like freaking this, and I'm not going to shove it in the ground. So that's neat. So I would just look there first. And number two, to kind of help this through the hit, we see a lot of players that even though they get into delivery really nicely, they will frick it up from there because they still think, and they're unconscious, that they have to lower the lead arm, externally rotate it, and go there to square the club. So if I do this with the lead arm, what am I doing with the right? Heavy pronation, heavy extension in the right arm, boom, and I look like that. So guys will get all awesome in here and then go, okay, I'll just hit it now. And so now I just end up like shoving that golf club in the ground. So if we're in delivery nice, from here what I want to see you do, keep internally rotating the lead arm as you continue to rotate the chest. And so now I'm going to stay in this state. Look at all this separation here. Look at the right arm under. And so if I release that club now, that ain't steep, homie. This is steep. Okay. Also, along with that internal state, the right hand, as long as it stays in an extension state here, if I keep supinating it, look at what that club looks like now. This is also cool. Club face and chest, both pointing at the camera, correct? Here's the secondary release. There's the release. See, it just comes right out of my chest. So I'm going to go from delivery at P6, supinate to get the golf club down, but I didn't tumble the club face out, and there, didn't tumble the club face out. So it's here, there. What if I kept turning with that? Supinate to there. What pairs really well with that? Right in here. So see this from down the line? Boom, right in there, here. Okay, there's the internal. If I kept turning with that and then went there, boom. If I'm here, supinate there. See how it's all relative to my chest? Club face pointing in the same direction as my chest. Club face pointing in the same direction as my chest. If I turn with that, supination deflection, look at where the golf club goes there. You're not going to be steep. And you can still look that way big time with the same darn release pattern that we just described and be way more reasonable at the bottom. Have the club face. You'll continue to have the path and the AOA. Good question.
He sent 3 hearts.
When my kids do this. Back at you, bro. Back at you.
Alrighty. Here's a good one. This one's from Scott. What is
Nice.
one intent or thought that you use to start the swing? I tend to freeze over the ball. Thanks.
Ooh, great question. So I'll take one from Pia and Lynn. So these gals are the gals that came up with Vision 54, birdie every hole. So one of their, I'd look them up if I were you, not a ton in the like golf swing description department, but more from the performance department. Like, how do I like manage my mind? What is strategy compared to course management? What do proper routines look like to get me like flowed out? So one thing that we'll do with our higher performance juniors is we'll take this right out of Pia and Lynn's material. These two different greens. Can I see the different greens? Is that something? There's a green, there's a green?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this line, if you will, that separates the box that I'm standing in now to the box that I'm standing in now. This is called the decision line. And if the target is obviously in the screen, most folks start back here to walk in, right? So here's booty view of Riley. I'll walk in from here. I'm standing in the think box currently, and now I'll migrate into play box. Once you cross this imaginary decision line, your mind is made up. I've already got my club, I've already got my target, I've got the type of shot that I'm gonna hit, I've gone through my strategy, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I've taken a practice swing or two. That's all back here in think box, all in here. Now, when I walk in here, there's a certain period of time that you're allotted before that golf ball is in the air. With our juniors, how many seconds do our juniors get?
It's 10.
Nope.
No, it's not 10.
Like I push them hard.
Oh,
Like once
I
the
haven't seen you
foot
do
lands
that
in
with
here,
them,
boom, the countdown starts. They get 3 seconds until that golf ball's in the air. Okay, now 3 seconds sounds like zero time at all, but if we just watch this routine here, 3, 2, 1, gone. Now that probably doesn't look rushed. It probably looks more, I don't know, but it's just committed. Okay, so number one, I would work on this from the standpoint of you just put a dowel down or a golf club that you got to step over, and then you get 3 seconds in here and the golf ball's in the air. To make this easier on yourself, I would go through just suggest a 3-step process for your physical routine. We call this grip, club, body. Back here in think box, I can get one of those done. I can get the grip set. So how we classify the grip, structure the club, the hands, and the, so I've got grip done. Now if I walk in here, I'm gonna set that structure of club, hands, arms, and chest to the golf ball and to the target. And then finally, I'm gonna balance out my body. Okay, so if we look at that workflow, grip, club, body. How long did that take me to get set? About 0 freaking time, right? 3 seconds-ish. If you have an idea of the shape of your golf swing back here, you keep that in your mind's eye, I can very easily go 3, 2, 1, shape, and hit. But now it's much easier because you'll stay in that like dynamic state, and it's almost as if the golf swing starts from back here once you get your grip. Then you can go ahead and continue to move in, work into your setup, make your golf swing, and the golf swing finishes here. So it's a different outlook. Rather than like over it, now I've got 19 things that I've got to categorize and like, yeah, you look like frickin' Shaq at the free throw line, right? So I would work through that. The only other like little quick one on top of this is I would encourage you to play with one of 2 like swing start physical triggers would be cool. The 2 that I really like are either my rib cage kind of swaying back and forth like lead side, trail side right here. I love that one, and it's relative to the humerus bone. So if I've got my humerus and my rib cage right here, I'm trying to take this wrecking ball of a rib cage and just run into each arm. So the swing start would be lead arm, trail arm. So I'm here, I'm going lead arm, trail arm, gone. That would be a great one. Or Rory's triggers freaking dope as well. This is what I use. I like this one. But this one is just more like feeling pressure in the right. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm swaying the rib cage into this right humerus, and then I'm turning from there. So we would go more pressure, gone, hit. Or we could go pressure, pressure, gone, hit. Either one is cool. And you can drip that right in, right? If we do one more, see if I can dime one here. Grip, club, body, boom, boom. Now we're in it, right? So it's like authoritative in that my routine gets me set up to the golf ball and to the target. I have a little trigger, physical trigger to get me moving dynamically, and then I can flow into the like rest of the golf swing. So I play with that. If I were you.
I like that with a little bit of the feet moving.
Yeah, I like
That's
the little
my
feeties.
thing. That's when you know I'm about to freaking rip driver.
Oh yeah, he's like all in here. Yep.
All right.
All in his feels, all in his feeties.
Oh, all in my feet.
Yep.
Let's see.
Good question there. That was a really good question. These are so great. I love getting these
There's
questions.
fantastic.
I don't think about them. It's like, okay. Well, I do think about them.
Yes,
So it's
all
cool
the
to think
time.
about them more.
Charles.
With all these awesome folks. Charles?
Yes, sir. This was back in May. I started
Nice.
a horrible habit of throwing the club across my chest before opening my shoulders. Lots of topping with my irons. I have to concentrate on rotating my ribs so that my trail shoulder comes under, so it feels like left shoulder points to the sky. You, Riley, appear to release across your chest without this extreme left shoulder high.
Uh-huh.
Can you explain this if you can understand the question? Maybe a feel versus real issue?
Cool. Okay, so, all right. Like all my fillers, organize my mind. So one thing, let's, man, this whole idea or this concept, I see this on Instagram every single morning when I'm freaking swiping. And it drives me secretly nuts. Now I don't care, I'm not like, this is not shade on anybody, but this whole concept or idea of feel versus real is just, it just makes, I hate it when I see like a post, feel versus real, and then you watch like this like thing that somebody's doing and then they hit it and it doesn't look like that. So one, why is the real not feel, or is the feel not real? I don't necessarily understand where it is. Like for example, when we're describing that the golf club swings along the coronal plane and never isn't swinging along the coronal plane in the first portion of like this unload, it is actually moving there. This is not a feel. I mean, it is. I can feel me moving it there, but if I turn with that, it still did the same thing. Like if I face this wall right here and I do this, or if I turn and face the wall behind the camera, I do this, it's the same act. Nothing changed. All I did was I turned with it, and that's what levels it out. And it'll keep going that way as I keep turning, and that's the whole hit. So what I would look at is, okay, how much of one movement do I need to lead the whole act of the golf swing until the next movement catches on and then it activates? So what I'm hearing, and hopefully I'm hearing this correctly, Jackson, did you read that as in backswing it's going across or in forward swing it's going across?
Sounds like forwards.
Yeah,
forward
I think
swing,
it's forward swing as well. So I see like the right arm moving across here. Is there a time where this can happen too early? Yes. Is there a time where it could happen too late? Yes. And that's what you want to diagnose better. This is also, it makes working on your golf swing so much more of an enjoyable experience as well, because you're in your creative juices here. So even though we would say, hey, I want you to feel that the unload is later in the arms, okay, that might be the map that you have, that, okay, I'm gonna turn here, this is gonna fire later. All right, great, we have an idea or a concept in our mind to get into like a nice neutral state. So even though, yeah, okay, feel versus real. Well, the map that you have in your mind is what's going to produce like, okay, now I'm flushed out into like, I'm feeling nice. I feel good. I have good hits, good balls, right? So, but at the end of the day, will this run its course and you might overdo that? Betcha. So the point is like the feel or the swing thought or whatever can almost be like just as fleeting as like that worked for a day. Well, it's fine. It might stay for a week. It might stay for a month, but just know there's an end date, right? Until that gets sour. And then you've got to manage it maybe on the other end of the spectrum. But that's the key, is this is all a spectrum of movement in that this move happens, then this move happens, then this move happens. This is also, now I'm in beef mode. Okay, so this whole idea of, oh shit, what was I going to say? Hold on. Old age. That's right there. It'll come back to me. Anyhow, the point is like, look, these thresholds you get to play with. The spectrum is here, right? Like, if I overdo it, I'm this way. If I underdo it, I'm this way. Well, let's go touch this wall and touch this wall so you grow awareness in your action. So getting to the specifics of this question, like where you see if you see the lead arm rise or the lead shoulder rise, we're going to have excessive lateral bend this way. Okay, what I would love to see you do is, especially like into P6, boom. See how like shoulders, my hip line might actually be this way a little bit, but in general, I'm kind of zeros right in here. Okay, if I'm back here and then I start to like rise this too early, most of the time that action is an attempt to move the golf club underneath the plane. But the issue is I have way too much lateral bend and not nearly enough rotation, lateral movement. I would rather see a player, especially like in the description that you're giving us, get way more lateral with the center of mass of their chest moving over their lead foot, feeling that happen, boom, early. And see how that's going to keep me more stacked in a way where this lead shoulder isn't climbing out of there. And at the same time, can you move the club in its organization here? So I've got this down and behind me, boom, as the rib cage is moving forward into the lead side. So now, if I just turned, again, see how reasonable I'm going to be in here in this hit. I can take the club and just shoot all the energy out of it as you continue to just turn and burn. That's what I'd like to see you do, to map that out so that the bottom is easier for you, but you still can have adduction. You still can have some amount of the lead shoulder working up and away, but it's at the correct time. A lot of this is just the map that you have in your mind. Okay, so club organization, as well as your sternum or the center of mass of your ribs, boom, all the way up over this lead foot. By the time we get into delivery, I bet you dollars to donuts you're going to turn with that and feel great at the bottom.
Dollars to donuts.
Dollars?
I've never heard that one.
To donuts.
We're all learning stuff here.
What was that other thing I was thinking? You like came in and out. Must have been really important.
Super important.
Super.
Yeah, you're about to bash somebody. I don't know who.
Can't remember what it was. It wasn't somebody. It was a thing.
Something.
It was like a thing I see all the time. A thing. And then it's gone.
All right.
Clearly pisses me off.
Tom Tom. We'll just go with Tom.
Tom. What up, Tom?
In the Jack A lesson and many other videos, you recommend a strong left-hand grip for many excellent reasons. In contrast, you recommend full wrist extension flexion to get greater club head speed with longer clubs and woods. How can you achieve this wrist movement with a strong left-hand grip? I don't think that does that contrast?
Okay, let's, yeah,
Boom,
it's okay.
boom.
Yeah, can you state it again? I just want to make sure that I'm hearing it correctly.
Many other videos, you recommend a strong left-hand grip for many excellent reasons. In contrast, you recommend full wrist extension flexion to get greater club head speed with longer clubs and woods. How can you achieve the wrist movement with a strong left-hand grip?
Yeah, so, all right. Great question, by the way. Let's just kind of like workflow this. So part of the reason that I like a stronger, so more internal, really this isn't pronated a ton, but if I go pronation rather than supination, that's what strengthens or weakens the grip, right? Again, golf terms. Who knows what strong and weak, where it came from. right? It's pronation or supination or internal versus external.
Yeah.
So let's just think of, let's go, hey, I'm in the gym and I see a kettlebell on the floor. Am I gonna go, I'll get it and grab it, or am I gonna go, I'll get it and grab it? So it's the second one all the time, right? Now, nobody goes, oh, look, a kettlebell, I'm gonna turn my humerus bone internal and make sure this stays pronated and grab it. It's an intuitive thing because it's strong. It's how our bodies are built, right? So these like arm lines and tissue is not, I mean, we talk about fascia a lot just because you can see this beautiful highway, but like, look, you got ligaments and tendons, and you got muscles, you got fascia, you have organs, you have skin, you have, all of it's tissue. So how your tissue moves in space dynamically with weight, even if it's dynamic weight, like it is when we're swinging a golf club, that's the like direction of like, am I leaning in favor of injury or away from it? Obviously, we want to stay away. Golf psychos that we coach are like, I get these texts. I got one the other day. This dude's out in the rain with his camera out, his bucket hat. Who works harder than me, coach? I'm like, shit, nobody. And then the very next day, I get, dude, I hit 728 7-irons today. I'm like, gee whiz, that's a lot too. So we got a lot of like, dude, this craft is their craft. It's the hobby of hobbies for folks. So wouldn't it be an injustice of me to educate somebody that even if that made them better as a player, it ruins the health of their body, so that now either I have to get hit like joint replacement surgery, I have massive aches and pains after the thing that I love to do, and eventually the health of my body is jeopardized, or heaven forbid, I work with a playing professional that because of the instruction that I gave them and how I told them how to move, that they get injured and that ruins their chance of having a career in this game. Red flags, okay? So part of the reason that I like this state at the beginning, at address, is because one, it's healthy. It sets me up in a neutral state, okay? And I'm not saying that we like throw it massively internal. I'm just saying that when I protract the scaps to get my arms on top, the protraction state, see where the arms go? See the axis points of all these joints? They all point more internal in their bias. So if I look this way, I should probably look this way. I'm neutral. This is shitty, neutral. This is shitty, neutral. Boom, I'm right there. Now it looks like I can just hold on to that kettlebell and I'm fine all day long. Number two, when I'm moving forward and through the hit or getting ready to hit, in the forward swing, the spiral line going underneath this armpit and it starts to pull me up and away. If I do that, what's the state of this humerus? Does it go external or internal when I move this way? It's internal relative to the rib cage. And the more that I make it actually move even more internal, look at where the golf club goes. Boom. Isn't it shallowed and deeper here? This is all this posterior arm line, load, and it feathers right off the spiral line. So I've got spiral and posterior, so that now I can unload that in this really healthy manner. And even there, what's that look like? Did I have to throw it external? No. All this external throw, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, that's where it comes from. You're gonna have problems in your joints because of improper movement. Where does that come from? Probably because I'm glute fire, frickin' tilt, now I've gotta go this way. It's all an unhealthy pattern that leans into that. Does it mean that 100% of the time you're gonna get injured? No, but it just means that you've moved the needle in your favor. Okay, so that would be one, and then number two, you've got to, I just posted this. It's a funny video of me in my friggin' pajamas, and I'm like, I've got some friggin' saucepan, and I'm showing like, hey, turn it here to like strengthen the face. It's some stupid video that ended up posting because I think it can help some folks. If you are massively strong here, like Rory or Fitzpatrick, do Rory or Fitz really bow here? No, because it'll overclose the face. So how do they leverage? They leverage with radial. But what does Rory still do? What does Fitz still do? Internal here. Rory looks like this. And then even in the hit, he'll still look like this. Very, very stable. Like, I don't see anywhere that Rory's going to get injured because of his golf swing. Maybe because of his gym workout. But still does the same thing here. But the action here, like if I'm stronger there, I'm going to have more radial load. If I'm a little bit more in the neutral to weak state, I'm definitely going to need more flexion in that wrist structure. And then this is unloaded this way. Now here's where you can keep like all this stability with a stronger lead hand, more of a radial load, so I keep that cup. This is cool because I've got it strong enough because of my grip. The face is strong enough because of my grip. If I go up here and go radial, that face is strong enough right there. So you don't have to flash this out to square it. What you can do is you keep this in an internal state. This is still radial to load it. And as I unload, now I'm just going to go into an ulnar state with that lead wrist. This is the hit. Look at the face. Still super duper stable. So it doesn't mean that strong grip paired with radial means that I have to tumble it. It doesn't mean that at all. I can still have the same structure here. It simply means how am I going to leverage it and hit. But I could also go pronation, flexion. That's all posterior arm line load. And that leaks into more of a hit that's this way. This is more that flexion state to extension state. But it does the same thing to the club head. So a lot of this just depends on how you grip it, and do you lean more into a pronated or into a supinated state at address, stronger versus weaker, and then how do you load and unload based on that, and also based on your body's dynamics throughout the course of the entire swing. All of that weighs into your grip and how you load and unload the wrists and hands. That's a deep dive.
That's a really deep one.
Okay, guys. Perfect. Right on the friggin' buzzer right there. As always, love answering these questions. These are friggin' fantastic. Please keep them coming. Also, those of you that are on X Factor's site, I've got it in my on my to-do list to follow up with all of the friggin' awesome swings that are being posted on the community page. So that is those analyses will be done very, very soon. I really appreciate you guys being patient with me. But keep firing those in. I love working with you guys. And if you have any questions on any of the material that's presented here or questions that I can answer on these lives, please submit them so that I can help you guys out. Thanks so much. Hit some great shots for us. Until next week,